Hey there, Regina Andler here, and it is time for Coffee with Regina. And I have my friend Morry Zelcovitch. Did I get that right?
Perfect.
Awesome. He is with me. And first off, thank you for being here. And for my audience, I want to tell you who Morry is because he is a really super cool guy, and I'm so excited to have him on today.
Thank
And
you.
he gave me this little background bio, which I'm actually going to read in full, which I don't normally do because it's so cool and it will totally open up our chat. So he says, as a child, Morry had many problems ranging from hearing thousands of voices in his head to severe depression. And I'm thinking, who else can relate with this kind of stuff, right? He also had a very big mouth and was always getting into trouble and unbelievably accident prone. So as you can see, he is like a lot of us. Something inside him made him to start looking into brainwave entrainment, the brainwave entrainment field, when he began to observe that sometimes sound would seem to move faster or more pleasantly than other times. He eventually made the connection that when time seemed to move quicker, the sounds he was hearing were more rhythmic in nature. And when time seemed painfully standing still, the surrounding sounds were far more disjointed. Anybody else have this going on in their head? Because I'll tell you, when I am crazy, stressed out, and burnt out, that is exactly what's going on in my head. So for many years, he used other people's products with limited success. And he was determined to find out why these recordings seemed to work only in a minor way when all of the research he read suggested that the effects should be more dominant than what he was experiencing. So I'm going to paraphrase the end of this and say, you know what? Morry said, you know what? I'm taking the bull by the horns and I'm going to do this my own way and figure out how to make this work. And what he did was he got into this brainwave entrainment field and he discovered some secrets that he couldn't get anywhere else. And so I think that opens us up to probably longer than we have for time here to chat, because this is fascinating to me. Because, like I said, I even read your bio, and in the background, I'm thinking, whenever I'm stressed out, whenever I'm burnt out, whenever I got too many things going on, that's exactly what's going on in my head. It's like, it's not even like the squirrels, it's like the squirrels, the mouse, and every rodent on the planet is in my head running around in circles, and I can't make sense of any of it. So let's start. Tell me a little bit about where you were and how you got into where you are now, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, so because we only have a limited time, I'll give you the abridged version. Uh, Woke up in the morning, through most of my life, crossed my fingers, looked out the window, hoped I'd see mushroom clouds. Because I tried to end my own life 6 times that I can remember. Thing is, if you really want to end your life, one should have been enough. It took me 6 times to figure that out, by the way. And when I did figure it out, I realized that if I can't find a way to die, I have to find a way to live. And that started me going to what I call the paper internet. For those of you who can't infer what that is, that's called a library, because when I was younger, there was no such thing as the internet. And I studied things like neural science and psychology and perception and quantum physics and all kinds of different things that I thought might have something to do with why I felt the way I felt, why I kept thinking the way I did. That led me eventually to brainwave entrainment after approximately 35, 40 years of looking, which I'd love to say I invented, but I didn't. I found it. Other people had done it before me. The problem is what they did didn't help me. But all the research I did suggested it should. So that gave me the inspiration to reinvent the wheel. And I started making my own recordings and I started doing my own things. And that helped me. People noticed, asked me what I was doing. I shared with them the recording I had created. These were all friends of mine. They told me, oh, it's amazing. I'm sleeping better. I'm thinking clearer. I thought they were just blowing smoke up my you-know-where to make me feel good because they saw I was being helped. So they probably figured it was a placebo thing, or I figured that that's what they thought. And they were just trying to keep me feeling good. Then I got calls from friends of theirs who I don't know, who were saying, hey, Bob gave me this, Steve gave me this. And the long and the short of it is I realized other people have problems, other people have brains, and other people can be helped. And it turned into a business.
You know, when you say the whole thing about, trying to, commit suicide 6 times, and you think about that, and you're absolutely right. And there's not many people who can stop and make that connection and go, okay, I'm apparently not successful at this, so why not? And there must be a reason why I'm still here, and kind of flip the switch and go, okay, well, then let's find a way to live and find out what's going on here. Because I don't think I know anybody, including myself, who hasn't at some time or other said, what am I still doing here? Why am I still here? And, you get that thought in your head, and then sometimes you're like, whoa, where did that thought come from? And that whole brain entrainment. I mean, think of your brain is on 24/7, and your subconscious and all of this stuff. And what is it? It's what, 70,000 thoughts or something on average per day?
Oh, there's a lot of thoughts. And depending on what you say out loud, that influences the thoughts that happen underneath everything, too. So, even if you don't feel so good, say you do. Because every time you voice or vocalize or write down that I don't feel well, I don't feel good, that elicits between 500 to 5,000 negative thoughts that match that every 24 hours.
Wow, that's actually a really good tip right there. Because I mean, how many of us spend, and I talk to my clients about this all the time, because anytime I cringe every time I hear the word, I'm struggling with this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you're not struggling, you just haven't figured out how it works yet. So stop telling yourself you're struggling, or you're just going to give yourself more stuff to struggle with. And I never really think of the connection of okay, you say you're struggling, you just gave yourself that many more struggling thoughts to
Oh, and
contend with.
understand, sorry for interrupting, but every struggling thought, every struggling vocalization creates chemistry because it's actually your brain's chemistry that allows you to feel what you've decided, quote unquote, decided to feel. So if you feel happy or sad or anxious or, impatient, loving, whatever you feel is the result of your brain creating chemistry that allows you to feel that way. And just like a chef creates a meal from ingredients, you create your experience through your thoughts.
So one thought of, I'm not worthy, I'm not going to get clients, I'm not as smart as my competitor, and all of that stuff. Like, from your point of view, what does that do to your brain? What does that do to what's going on with
Well,
you?
kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy. One of the advantages to being me is that, there's a song, I can't remember who it's by now, but it's a beautiful song. I've looked at life from both sides now,
Mhm.
is one of the lines in it. I don't know if that's actually the title, but that's one of the lines in it. And I've looked at life from both sides now, extreme sides. And I can tell you that in my case, because ultimately I can only speak for myself, and then people listen, and if they relate into their own terms. But from my perspective, it's it's interesting when you have no faith in yourself, when you have no belief in yourself, when people tell you you're going to amount to nothing, and then you bring that into fruition because you don't want them to be wrong. You believe the authority source, the teacher, the professor, your friend, your parent, your grandparent, your religious icon, whoever it is that is telling you you're not good enough is wrong. You are definitely good enough. And the proof of that is happy feels good and sad doesn't. That's nature's way of telling you you're on the right track, thinking and doing the right things if you're happy. And if you're not happy, you're doing and thinking the wrong things. And it's really as simple, believe it or not. Don't let anyone convince you it's difficult. It's as simple as changing your intention, how you interpret what goes on around you, to change what actually goes on around you.
I was like, wow, that's actually an aha kind of thing for not just me, but I'm sure a lot of people. Because when you think about that, when we think about like limiting beliefs and stuff like that, a limiting belief that we have to appease those authority figures. So if they say it, even if we don't believe it, we pretend to, or we make it that way to make them right. And us, even though we know what's wrong. And that's a huge shift.
Well, doesn't limiting beliefs suggest that there are beliefs that are not limiting? So why not just make the choice? Why choose to
Mm.
be, it's always fascinated me why, if you're in a group of people and someone's in a really pissy mood, that they will try to bring everyone who's energetic, who's happy, who's alive, down around them, rather than saying, "Ooh, I want to sponge this good feeling off of you and feel better." But for some
Some
reason,
people,
it's more reflex to go the other direction.
yeah, some people just like the drama and want to be the victim. And I
It's
never
an
understood
excuse.
that.
It's an excuse. It allows people to feel the way they feel. There's got to be some reward system that's happening. They're getting some kind of neurochemical reaction that's making them feel like they have a reason to feel that way. It's not my fault. It's the government's fault. It's not my fault. It's religion's fault. It's not my fault. It's my wife's fault, or my husband's fault, or my kid's fault, or my dog's fault, or my cat's fault. It's easier to blame someone else for what we perceive as shortcomings, which are actually often strengths. But it's, again, the angle we look at something that allows us to interpret it. And again, if you interpret something and it makes you feel bad, you're not interpreting it the right way. There's a lesson to be learned. Even a broken arm. I'm sure lots of people who are listening to this have broken a finger, they've broken an arm, they've cracked a rib, they've done something like that. And one of the common traits of that is likely they felt pain. Well, pain is normally interpreted as something bad, but pain makes you go to a doctor or a hospital and get the bone set. And if you don't have the pain and you don't get the bone set, maybe your arm gets infected. Maybe it never functions properly again because it doesn't heal properly. So pain is actually, or can be interpreted as, an alarm system, like a fire alarm. Those shrieking noises, rah, 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 they're annoying as heck, but they're designed to be annoying so you take action. And I believe that's what pain can be considered as well in many cases.
I love that you are throwing like so many gold nuggets in here, and I'm not even sure that you're aware of it. It's the way you explain it, is that there's so many little tidbits in there of how to shift how you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're feeling, so that it, instead of playing the victim and ending up with a drama, it turns to your advantage,
Mhm.
and you can actually, bring yourself to a higher energetic level and attract what you actually want to you.
And that's interesting that you put it that way. I actually don't believe in attraction. I believe that everything is there all the time, and it's just what you choose to look for.
Mm,
So in quantum physics, at least in my version of quantum physics, if I can science out a little bit here,
mhm. Love it.
nothing exists until it's observed.
Mhm.
And that means you and I can look at the same thing, but we see it differently. There's actually two things there. Because in your reality, this exists. In my reality, I'm not going to use that finger. In my reality, this exists. So they're different interpretations. So my view is this: if I'm right, and if nothing exists until it's observed, the thing about humans is we give everything meaning too. We don't just see something or observe something, we interpret it, we give it some kind of meaning. Why not give it a positive meaning? Why do we have, like, if the phone rings at midnight, why do we have to freak out and think, oh my God, who died? Who's in a car accident? Why do we have to think the worst all the time? If it is the worst, we'll deal with it because we've dealt with other worsts before. But why take up more of our time, more of our existence, more of our life, always considering the wrong things, the bad things? Why don't we go? I mean, it feels better to feel good than it does to feel bad. And yet we have this reflex to make us feel bad all the time. Now, maybe in the olden days when saber-toothed tigers were attacking us all the time, that was a benefit. But we live in a different world now. It's time to change our reflexive actions to something more suitable to our existence currently. That's my opinion, at least.
And so I agree with that. And we got multiple things here going on. First off, let me go to the quantum physics part because I'm a quantum physics nerd too, and and I 100% agree with you. It's until it's observed, it doesn't exist. And I'm still on the energy and frequency piece of things where there are energies and frequencies, and changing your energy and your frequency and being at a higher frequency. Let me see if I word it this way. What you observe is more beneficial for you.
Sure. I would
How's
agree with that completely.
that?
I like
so,
that.
so maybe not law of attraction, but what you observe is more beneficial.
Sure. And you can choose what to observe.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
real, I guess, the takeaway here is that you don't have to just accept things. And you can choose what you observe and how you observe it, and how, more importantly, how you interpret what you observe.
Right, right. And then moving on to the back end of what you had just said, because I just wanted to make sure the quantum physics things, because yeah, like I said, I'm a quantum physics nerd too, and you probably know way more about it than I do. For me, it's like a little passing side hobby, and but the other side of the saber-tooth tiger. So are we? Is our DNA still Neanderthal? I mean, are we still reacting to things that don't exist in our world anymore?
I believe it's socialization. I think this is all done with intent. I think it's easier to keep the public scared, and don't take this the wrong way, public, because I'm part of you, but stupid and ignorant, because that keeps us in line. It keeps us more likely to follow orders unquestioningly without thinking about it first. I believe we need to think about everything we do, not just, we're not a hard drive. We're a central processing unit. We actually process information. We don't just accept it and store it. But our society is telling us this is the truth. This is the fact. Accept it and store it, or else. And I don't believe in that. Quite frankly, I don't believe in truth, and I don't believe in fact, because I noticed when I used to, because I did, but when I used to, two horrible things happened. One is I stopped thinking, because why think about something that's a fact?
Mm.
The other thing is I would wait for instance, you to be quiet so I could tell you how wrong you are. Now, because I see you as a different being existing in a different universe, because your interpretations are different, words mean different things to you, events look different to you, all these things are different. I now live life with the intention and the idea and the concept that you're always right and I'm never wrong, because I live in my universe, and my universe exists the way I perceive it to exist. You live in your universe. Sometimes our universes, rub up against each other and we communicate and things like that. But ultimately, you see your universe the way you do. I see my universe the way I do. That means that I can learn from you, because you live in a different universe. You have a different way of seeing things and interpreting things. So now, instead of me saying, well, I'll wait for her to be quiet so I can tell her how wrong she is, now I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm trying to learn from it, because it's different. And I can't learn from someone who says what I say. I can only learn from someone who says something differently.
Wow. Like, again, 1,000 golden nuggets right there. And that last thing that you just said is priceless. I can't learn from someone who says the same thing that I say, because I already know that. I need to hear you say something I don't know yet, so that I can maybe learn something new or find a new perspective. And that whole perspective of it's a complete mindset shift. It's I don't want to make this sound like off for anyone who's going, well, I'm not there yet or whatever, but it's almost like living on a different level. It's You're on a different reality plane. We'll go back to quantum physics. We're on a different reality plane, and so you view everything differently than the average person does, because they're just so used to being the lemming. I'm
So
trying to figure out how to word
here's
that.
the thing. Einstein is credited with saying there's no such thing as brilliance. Only people who see things others don't see. Well, I believe everybody is brilliant and everybody sees things others don't see. So I don't think it's so much a matter of they're not on my level or I'm not on their level. I think it's just that they're not aware that they're on that level. I think everybody's on the same level. I think everybody is just as important. You're a neurosurgeon, you're a scientist, you're a doctor, you collect garbage off the street. I mean, let's face it. If aliens came and took every neurosurgeon off the planet, a lot of people would suffer and a bunch of people would die. If the aliens came back and dropped back off all the neurosurgeons and took away all the custodial people, all the people who keep our society and our cities and our towns clean, in about a year and a half, 2 years, half the population of the earth would probably be dead or diseased. So who's more important? From the sake of maintaining life, I think it's pretty obvious. Interesting how our society, though, values the neurosurgeon more. It's just, what about farmers? Get rid of all the farmers who are abused and taken advantage of all the time. We're all dead in, what, a month?
Yep. Absolutely.
So it's really a matter of, I don't think it's a matter of anything more than awareness and value. We need to, in my world, we need to see value in everybody because everybody has value. And the proof of that is that they're here. And if you're here for a reason. And just because you don't know what that reason is, doesn't mean you're not fulfilling it. And it doesn't mean you're not filling the hole you need to fill. The world needs you because you're here, and that's the evidence. So everybody should feel really, really good about themselves, whether they realize it or not, whether they realize why they should feel good or not, because they're here to fulfill a purpose. And that's, I'm speaking science. I'm not speaking God or religion or any of that. You're here for a reason. Just like different cells, stem cells differentiate themselves. Some of them become fingernails, some of them become heart tissue, some of them become blood. Every single one of them is the same in value. They fill a purpose and fulfill a purpose that needs to be fulfilled. And believe it or not, the cell that becomes a fingernail is no less important than the cell that becomes lung tissue. They're all equally important.
I really love that analogy. That's an amazing analogy for that. That's really cool. And again, making it so simple to understand and follow. Because when you think of the word brain entrainment, it's like, wow, that sounds pretty heavy. So so what is brain entrainment? Tell us more about what you do for others.
Okay, so first of all, every single one of you likely has already experienced entrainment multiple times. If you've ever driven home and you don't remember most of the drive, you're on a highway, the flickering white lines on the road or yellow lines, as they pass you, that creates a pattern that your brain entrains to. That's one of the reasons why you don't remember most of the drive. If you've ever tapped your toes or bopped your head to music mindlessly, you're not trying to do it, you're just doing it. Those are all forms of entrainment. So entrainment is basically one system near another system, and the other system mimics it. And they start following each other. Something called the frequency following response. So what we do with brainwave entrainment is we expose you to specific pulses, like bump, 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 being kind of generalized here. But these pulses, within about 6 minutes in the average person with the average brain, starts following. So we get a bulk of the neurons, which are your brain cells, and you have billions of them. They flicker, kind of like flicking on and off a light. And depending on how many times a second they flick on and off, that denotes the state they're in. So if you hear of alpha, theta, delta, gamma, beta, that's just ranges of how many times your neuron is flickering on and off. And the thing is, depending on where that neuron is located, its purpose, how many times it's flickering on and off, that dictates the kind of neural chemistry that we're producing, which is what I was alluding to before, saying that everything produces chemistry, and that chemistry is a result or allows you to feel the way you feel or experience things the way you experience them. So brainwave entrainment, quite simply, exposes the brain, usually through the ears, sometimes through the eyes, a pattern, a vibratory pattern of on and off, on and off, on and off, so many times a second. And by getting a dominant number of neurons to behave in a similar fashion, we can control, to some degree, the kind of chemistry that's produced. So when I was seriously depressed all those years, I didn't see any brightness. I didn't see any light anywhere. When I first started listening to my own recordings, it was like being in a very dark room and there's a pinprick of light. I had never seen that pinprick of light before. And remember, in a dark, dark room, it's very easy to see one little pinprick of light. It stands out like crazy. But when you are in a bright room, it's very difficult to see pinpricks of darkness. So light is actually more powerful than darkness. We need to give our intention over to that. We need to use techniques like brainwave entrainment, like breathing techniques, like hypnosis and meditation and all these types of things to recalibrate our brains back into how they're supposed to function, not how we've been taught for them to function, so it keeps us down. And I don't want to sound like a revolutionary, like the man is keeping us down, but society is built to have worker bees and queen bees. That's not nature. That's nurture. That's what society has done. That's what the upper echelon does, because it's easier if it keeps us stupid and it keeps us weak. I suggest, and I would encourage you all to start using your hard drive, your brain, as a central processing unit instead. Think about things, question things, don't just accept them. And become your own scientist, become the world scientist. Because you know what? Just like you're saying, I'm dropping gold nuggets here and there and everywhere. Well, I'm a slob, so it's not surprising me that I'm dropping things everywhere. But everyone can do that. Everyone has a brain. Everyone has a unique view on the world. And by sharing that with others, that's how we help all of us. There's a line that's overused, and I'll overuse it again. High tide raises all ships. So let's work to raise all of us instead of just one of us, and try to be impressive that way.
Yeah, there is so much here that I was going to say, as our time is starting to run out, again, we could probably talk about this for hours. I would love to talk about it for hours. It's when you think about, especially for business owners, because our audience here are a lot of entrepreneurs, and
Sure.
you said some very specific things that, in life in general, I mean, the whole, how your brain works and what you're thinking of and the choices that you're choosing to make with your thoughts. It makes a big difference as to how you show up in the world. So if you're a business owner and you're continually saying, I'm struggling with this, or I don't understand why I can't find new clients, or whatever it is that you're saying, all the negative things, really, I think you said it early on, is you're just setting yourself up to get exactly what you're saying, right?
Sure. Understand the dynamic of what's happening. Your negative thinking patterns are creating a negative reality because that's what you're looking for. You're a bunny rabbit who, instead of hopping through the forest looking at all the beautiful flowers and the grass and the stones and the trees, is looking over his shoulder because a fox is hunting him. And he doesn't see the beauty anymore, just sees the fox. So that's what we're doing. We can choose to be different. Brainwave entrainment and the philosophies I'm telling you all about here, or suggesting that you think about, aren't rules or laws. They're suggestions on how to think so that you can have a better existence. They're not just beneficial for people with problems, people who are doing well. Maybe you have a $10 million a year business. Why don't you have a 20 million? Why can't you have 100 million? Think about it. You have a $10 million business. You're helping a lot of people. How many more people would you be helping if you had a $100 million business or $1 billion business? That doesn't mean you should feel bad because you're not helping that. But my dad taught me years ago that the more people you help, the more money you're going to have. So let money not be a bad thing for you. Let it be a sign that you're helping that many more people. And understand, again, that you can optimize yourself. Just like there's different football players with different skill levels, and some are superstars and some are stars and some are just regular football players who are still very impressive unto themselves. You can do the same thing. You can always make yourself better. I don't believe there's any limit to human ability or to human goal getting or setting or anything. We are unlimited beings. So change how you think about yourself. Change what you think is possible. Look around you if you don't believe me. There's people who are earning billions and billions of dollars. There's people who can jump 6 feet in the air. There's people who can literally fly. There's people who can climb mountains. How is it that they can do it and you can't? Mindset. That's the
Mhm.
only differentiator between you and them. You can accomplish anything you set your mind to.
You know, we are just about out of time. I want to have, how do people get a hold of you if they want to have a conversation with you?
Well, I think the best way would be just to throw a link underneath this so when people go back to it later on, they can.
Yeah. What's the link you want to throw?
I would say mindtrainer-pro.com.
Mindtrainer-pro.com. Let's see if I type that in right. Let's just put it right here on the bottom of the screen if my computer cooperates here, because this is just fascinating to me. Did I type that in right?
It looks like you did, yes.
Fabulous. Okay. So, uh, if for anybody who's watching this, we get a lot of people who watch on replay and stuff like that as well, live and replay. If you're watching this and you're going, wow, I'm not even sure, or if you're thinking that you're struggling, I highly suggest you go back and watch the replay and listen to Morry again. Everything you just said there at the end, I couldn't have summed all of this up any better. It's
Thank you.
entirely up to you and your mindset, and you get to choose it. If you want to keep struggling, keep telling yourself you're struggling. You know what? Go get a job, because don't be in business, because you're convincing yourself that you're no good at it. And the thing is like Morry just said, you are good at it.
You are.
You're good at everything. You are brilliant, and you just need to see that in yourself and accept that to yourself, so that you can actually shift that mindset to what you want.
So I'd like to leave a last thought here. I
Perfect.
want you all to think about, especially if you're having a hard time wrapping your head around what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, that's okay for you, Morry, but it's not for me, or it's not me. I want you to imagine you just bought a house. And it's your dream house. It's totally a dream house. And the previous owner left some antique furniture there. There's a giant bookshelf, and you love it, so you're using it. Fast forward 20 years. You're going to redecorate the house. You still love the house, but you want to redecorate it. So you have someone move the bookcase because you're getting rid of it now. Behind the bookcase is a door you didn't know was there. Go into that door and see what's there. See what exists for you that you didn't even know was part of you. That's the kind of thinking that helps you to grow and helps you to rediscover yourself and literally find things out about yourself you didn't know. Because there is that door in all of our lives that we don't even know exists. And when we open it up, go into it like a 6-year-old kid does, not afraid of the dark, but excited what it's going to see and find.
I absolutely love that visual. I have the whole thing in my head now, this visual of this door, and it's like, ooh, what's behind the secret door? It was like that. Yeah, that's exciting to me. It's not scary at all. It's like, ooh, open the door and go see what you might find. You never know what's there unless you go look for it, right?
It's true.
Oh, wow. This has been brilliant. I love this conversation, this info, and every single person, especially every single person, whether you're a business owner or not, needs to understand how your brain really operates like that, and know that it's a choice. You get to change it if you don't like it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
www.mindtrainer-pro.com. Check out Morry here. Go ahead. Anything? Last words?
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to say that your beliefs form your reality. If you don't like your reality, it's actually easier than you think to change your beliefs because you understand that you created the reality you have now. That proves to you you have the power. Changing a subtle shift in what you're thinking will change in a subtle way what you experience as well. So I know I keep saying last thing. I'll shut up now.
Like I said, we could probably talk about this for hours, and that is a perfect one to end on. So it is entirely up to you. Change your mind, change your focus, change your perspective, change your life, right? There you go. Thank you so much, Morry, for being here today. This was an amazing conversation. I really appreciate it.
Been my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. And we will see you all next time on Coffee with Regina. Bye for now, everyone.